Hello, my fellow Devil Fruit users. I am back. I'm here to stay, and I'm not going to spend 10 minutes explaining why I was gone. I'm just going to jump right into it. And this time is going to be a one-piece discussion, and it's going to be talking about the Dressrosa arc, what we can expect from this year in 2014, etc., etc. It's basically what this is about. Now, I'm going to list in a summary of what the topics are about and then go into details. Now, they are going to involve Sabo, as well as the Mera no Mi and the Revolutionary Army. Then we have D-Block and what could come of that. Then we're going to be talking about CP0. Then we'll follow that with the Toy Factory and Sugar, followed with the Donquixote Family and what members of the Straw Hat Pirates they may or may not be fighting. And the last topic, we'll be talking about Big Mom, Kaido, Blackbeard, the various Yonko that are showing up, as well as the alliances, etc., etc., and what we can expect of them and what roles they may or may not play in this arc. Now, we're only 32 chapters in or so, I believe, and this arc already has an insane amount of people in it. I mean, from everything from admirals to Yonko to Sabo, it's ridiculous. It almost seems like this is the last arc, and we know it's not going to be the case. But it almost seems like Oda said, fuck it, we're just going to throw everything in this one arc. It's fucking ridiculously crazy, and the possibilities are borderline endless. So we're going to jump right into with Sabo. Now, I predicted that Sabo was going to be alive. I predicted that Sabo was going to be alive in this arc, and I'm glad to say I called it, I fucking called it. I'm going to brag for the rest of my life. I'm even more happy than when I predicted Obito, because everyone predicted Sabo would be alive, but who predicted he would show up specifically in Dressrosa? I've been calling it for the longest time in my Sabo video. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. I'll link it down below. Is Sabo truly alive? And you'll understand. Now, Sabo's alive. A lot of people are saying that it may not be Sabo. It may be, oh, Mr. 2 or Monkey D. Dragon or something like that. Now, let me address that issue. It's obviously not Monkey D. Dragon because if I recall, Luffy's never met him, to my knowledge. And it's not Mr. 2 because the only person that Luffy's face could react that way to, other than Sabo, is Ace. And we all know Ace is dead, so obviously it's Sabo. So I'm going to stop right there as far as, is Sabo truly alive? Because we're all pretty much set on the idea that he is. Now, his role in this arc is already obvious, which is what I predicted, and is that he is going to receive, or try to receive, the Mera no Mi. I did not know, however, that he was going to directly participate in the tournament. I don't know how that works. Now, he's obviously not set in D-Block. So how is he going to win it other than by illegal means, like taking the Mera no Mi? He can't win the tournament if he's not in the tournament. It doesn't work that way. You can't just join in the middle of the match. It doesn't work that way. You register at the beginning, and then you win. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work. Now, the Mera no Mi going to Sabo is perfect because, well, it is that one connection that connects Luffy and Sabo. What else I have to say about the Mera no Mi? Now, what I want to address is the Revolutionary Army and what they are doing in Dressrosa. That I cannot quite figure out. I'm very interested in Koala because of her supposed expertise in fishman karate. I'm not quite sure how that works, being, you know, that she's not a fisherman, but I can't wait to see that. Now, the question is Monkey D. Dragon going to show up? Is he going to play a huge part? Now, I can only imagine that Sabo is a big part of the Revolutionary Army by now. I'm not saying he's second in command or anything of the sort, but he is definitely a high-ranking member, presumably. So Monkey D. Dragon knows he's there. He knows what's going on in Dressrosa, and he has some kind of knowledge in that. As to whether or not he'll show up and meet Luffy, I don't know, but I'm considering the possibility that he will. This would be a good time. It's past the time skip. It's the perfect time that the Revolutionary Army has been brought in, and Revolutionary Army has very little information about it, and also they've not really had a lot of contact with Luffy. Luffy hasn't really had a lot of contact with the Revolutionary Army. Robin was the one, of course, who had more contact with the Revolutionary Army of the Straw Hats. So the fact that they are showing up in this arc right in front of Luffy's face damn near confirms that Dragon is going to show up in this arc. So we got that covered. The next thing I want to discuss is D-Block. Now, a lot of people were claiming the possibility of Conqueror's Haki being involved. One flaw with that, of course, is that the people on the ground were not foaming at the mouth. However, they did fall one at a time, just like you saw in Amazon Lily, because if you recall, they were all falling down repeatedly. I don't know if it's based on strength, the weakest ones fall first or what, but they specifically said they were falling down one at a time, and then one member was getting up. The problem with that, though, is if it's Conqueror's Haki, first of all, like I said, they weren't foaming at the mouth. Second of all, the crowd would also fall down because they're not fighters. They're weaker. So, of course, they would fall down, too. However, some people were theorizing the possibility that the Conqueror's Haki was being controlled in a specific area. I believe that is a possibility. However, some people were saying that maybe Rebecca had awoken her Conqueror's Haki. That would be cool as fuck because I want to like Rebecca, especially since it looks like she's going to be a Straw Hat. This would be a good way for it. The problem with it is though, when you awaken your Conqueror's Haki, there's no fucking way you're going to be able to concentrate and control it to that degree. It was clearly somebody outside of the arena because every single member fell down. The one person getting back up would obviously be the person who was not as affected by it, or potentially the person who initiated it. And I guess Conqueror's Haki is not going to affect yourself, so that theory is out of the window right there. So whoever used the Conqueror's Haki obviously targeted it from outside. Some people theorized it might be Sabo in his way to help get the Mera no Mi. I disagree. So we can go ahead and conclude that Rebecca is not the one responsible for the Conqueror's Haki. Now, as to who awoke, I wonder who stood up. I'm considering the possibility that's Rebecca because of the fact that we know she has Haki. Maybe that gave her some sort of resistance to the Conqueror's Haki, but that's some heavy speculation, and we'll have to, of course, delve into more information on that. But I'm very curious as to who is alive. I'm sorry, not alive. Who is the winner of this tournament, of D Block at least. It could be Cavendish, but I'm thinking it might be a new person, someone we haven't seen quite in the block yet, similar to a Jesus Burgess situation where we didn't even see him until after he won. Now, moving on to CP0. Who we've only seen once since this arc started. Holy hell. CP0 is, it's reasonable to assume that they are the strongest, or at least the most important of the Cypher Pole groups. CP9 were tough motherfuckers. They weren't Admiral level, of course, not even close, but they were tough. They were tough and they were important. They were a part of Ennie's lobby. So, to imagine what CP0 is capable of, that's fucking crazy. Now, obviously, they're spies. They're a part of intelligence. I don't know exactly what they're doing. They could be dealing with information on Doflamingo. They could be working with the government in order to find out what Doflamingo is capable of and in order to unseat him from the role of Shichibukai, basically. So there are a lot of possibilities. I've considered the possibility that I used to think that, well, maybe it was members of CP9 like Lucci who had returned under that mask or something like that. But then I remembered, of course, CP9 members were kicked out of CP, so that theory is debunked. So who is CP0? What are they doing? What are they capable of? Who fucking knows? Now, next thing I'll talk about is the Toy Factory and Sugar. Now, I'm very curious as to how they're going to take out Sugar. They're saying that they're going to scare Sugar, but that's scare her unconscious. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to just say, bam, kick her ass and she's down? I mean, that's a little tricky, hitting a little girl and all, but Miss Golden Week. Yeah, so I'm very curious as to how Sugar is going to be dealt with. And I'm always wondering, was she forced into this? Was she doing it intentionally? She seems like an object that's just being used. It kind of reminds me of a situation in this anime called The Book of Bantora, where there's this one particular chick who is being used for her ability to see the future, against her will, of course. So it could be a similar situation to that, where she doesn't really have an option. Now, as to what happens when they take her out, obviously, that's going to be fucking crazy because we all know that once you're turned into a toy, not only are your memories wiped, but the memories of everyone you've ever known are gone. Imagine this. Imagine, some people are saying, oh, maybe Usopp will be turned into a toy like Pinocchio, huh? Do you understand think about the Water 7 saga and what Usopp has done for that saga and for the Straw Hats. Imagine if the entire existence of Usopp or any one Straw Hat was erased from everyone. It's mind-boggling. I don't see that happening. So I'm very curious as to how they're going to deal with Sugar and what happens when all of the toys are brought back unto their normal state. Now, Usopp and Robin, as well as the Tontada tribe, are on their way to deal with that, and I'm very curious, like I said, as to how they're going to deal with the situation. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the Donquixote family and who they could be fighting against the Straw Hats. Now, we can assume that Senior Pink, for example, is going to fight Frankie. That makes sense. They're both, you know, exactly. And if you'll look on, I believe it was one of the more recent One Piece chapters, you'll see Senior Pink on a panel right next to, I believe his name is Mach V, and those are the only two right next to each other. And I thought about it. One has a perverted, like, attire, and one is mechanic-like, so maybe Frankie will fight them both? I don't know. The Donquixote family is not a joke. Understand that. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I'm very curious as to who's going to fight people like Dellinger and Lao Ji, people we don't know much about and their abilities. Now, I want to talk about the 3 top members of the Donquixote family, of course, being Trebol, Pika, and Diamante. Now, I don't know if I've stated this in a previous video before, but I know I've mentioned this to people. I believe that it will go as such. Luffy will fight Doflamingo. That's a given. And I believe that the second strongest will be Pika, the Spade guy, who will be fighting Zoro. Zoro always fights the second strongest member. That's a given. And why Pika? Well, A, he's the most serious looking of the 3, and Spades are generally considered higher suit in card games that have certain suits involving that. So it's certainly a possibility that the 2 of them can fight. Sanji versus Trebol makes a lot of sense because Trebol runs a group, of course, with Violet under it, and he wants to protect Violet. So it would make sense that he's sort of, hey, I'm going to kick your ass and fight him. A lot of people are considering the possibility that Trebol is a Logia user. That would be a really, really good fight in order for Sanji to show off his armament Haki, which he does have. It is confirmed that he has armament Haki, but we have not seen it in action. Sanji has never gone all, most of the Straw Hats haven't gone all out since the time skip. And I'm not very satisfied with the way the Virgo fight went. This would be Sanji's redemption. This would be his way to pull out that armament Haki and fight a Logia and show, yeah, New World, I understand, but I don't care that you're a Logia. We can fight you now. We can fight you now. Understand? You know, we're not completely helpless. And the last one is Diamante, I believe Luffy will take out in a similar situation to Bluno, where Luffy took out the 4th strongest member of CP9. Maybe a similar situation here. So why specifically Diamante? Because he runs the Mera Mera no Mi tournament. That's going to be some real personal fucking beef for Luffy. Or maybe even Sabo. So there are a lot of possibilities as to who they could fight. We already know that, for example, Brook took out Jorah or Jola or whatever, but obviously that's not going to be Brook's only opponent or final opponent of this arc, and I'm really curious to see what members fight who. Now, the last topic I want to talk about are the various Yonko and the people related to them. We'll start with Big Mom. I did not know Big Mom was going to show up in this arc. I considered it. I did not know. I really didn't. And when she showed up, her ship anyway, I was impressed. I was very satisfied. Will she herself get involved? I believe so. I don't believe there's any reason for Oda to bring back solely Peckham's and Tamago just by themselves. They're powerful individuals, granted. There's just no reason to bring only them in an arc this big. I don't see it. There's no reason to save Big Mom. Look at how crazy this arc is. Can you really see this arc ending and then next arc we bring in Big Mom? She's important. She's not more important than what's going on in this arc. It makes perfect sense for her to show up. Now, one thing I want to address is Jinbei. Why did Jinbei stay in Fishman Island? Because he had ties to deal with, to sever from Big Mom. Big Mom showing up means that there's a good chance that Jinbei will show up. And it's good. It's the first saga after Fishman Island. We know that Jinbei's going to join the crew, and we don't want to wait a considerable amount of time. So this would be a good chance for him to show up and join the crew again. Bam! That'll be fucking awesome. As to who's going to fight Big Mom, I don't know, because weakest Yonko or not, which is not confirmed, of course, she's still a fucking Yonko. She'll wipe the floor with Luffy. She'll wipe the floor of fucking Doflamingo. It's not going to happen. Luffy's not going to fight her right now. So I'm very curious as to exactly what her role is going to play. Now, Kaido showing up in this saga is a given. Him showing up in this arc is debatable. I had considered the possibility that with the Punk Hazard arc, we dealt with Caesar Clown, who works under Doflamingo. Dressrosa, we deal with Doflamingo, who works under Kaido, and then we get a third and final arc to close the saga that deals with Kaido. However, I can't imagine an arc coming after Dressrosa that is that bigger. Then I don't see it. There's no way that I don't see it in being, at least in this one saga anyway. This is clearly going to be the end of the saga. Maybe it'll be called the Dressrosa saga. I don't see Kaido coming later. I see Kaido more likely to show up now, especially given that the Smile Factory, the Toy Factory, etc. is in play. As to who's going to fight Kaido, what he's going to do, what he's going to look like, I have no idea. Obviously, he's going to be a Zoanthrope Devil Fruit user, and I'm considering the possibility that he will be a Chimera. Why not? It's a culmination of a bunch of different animals, I believe, a snake, a goat, and like 4 fucking other different things. So, and he's called 100 Beast Kaido for a reason. Now, I want to talk about, before I go into the last Yonko available, I'm not talking about Shanks, I'm talking about Blackbeard, I'm going to talk about the Kid, Hawkins, Apu alliance. It is not confirmed which Yonko they're going after, but we can assume, especially since Kid took out 2 of Big Mom's ships, that they are going after Big Mom. So, we can expect to see them soon. And I'm hoping that they'll fight Big Mom, they'll take out Big Mom. I don't know how that's going to fucking work, but they're going to show up, and Jinbei's going to get involved. We don't know if they're going to side with Luffy and Law's alliance, or if they're going to be against them. But this is basically going to be Marineford 2.0. That's the way I see it, because we damn near already have it. We have Yonkos, we have Admirals, we have Luffy. That's all we need right there. So I'm very interested to see where the alliance will lead. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Blackbeard. Will he show up in the saga? There's no reason not to believe so, because we have Jesus Burgess. I don't believe Jesus Burgess is going to show up in this arc and be the only relevant person. And I'm very interested to see what his abilities are and how strong he is. And also, plus, of course the Mera no Mi, Ace. And, you know, he wants the Mera no Mi. So, I'm very curious as to what Blackbeard's going to do, if he's going to show up, if he and Luffy are going to square off. They're obviously not going to fight to the death here and now. I think what's going to happen is that Blackbeard is going to show up and steal a bunch of different devil fruits. I don't know if it's going to be the Mera no Mi. I pray. I'm all for villains getting like awesome power-ups and doing fucked up things that make you go, no, no. But the Mera no Mi would kill me if he ate that. It would kill me. And I like Blackbeard. It would kill me if he ate the Mera no Mi. Anybody but Sabo eating the Mera no Mi, okay, I'll be alright with Rebecca. Anybody but an ally of Luffy getting the Mera no Mi will kill me inside. And you can all agree, I'm sure. So, I'm very interested to see what Blackbeard's going to be doing, what he's going to be capable of. All in all, this arc is just beyond crazy. There's so many things. Like I said, I'm going down the list again. Sabo, the Mera no Mi, the Revolutionary Army, the Tournament, Rebecca, Violet, the King Riku Army, the Tontada Army, the Toy Soldiers and the Factory, Sugar, Don Flamingo's family and his army, Fuji fucking Tora. I don't know exactly what Fuji Tora is going to do. Some people were hinting at Zoro fighting him, but that makes no sense because we all know that Fujitora is an admiral, and if we can assume he's at admiral strength, he can beat Doflamingo. I believe Doflamingo is not admiral level, but somewhat close. So it makes no sense that if Luffy fights Doflamingo and beats him, that Zoro, who is weaker, is going to beat Fujitora, who is stronger? That makes no sense to me. So I don't know what roles Fujitora is going to play exactly. And we'll keep going on the list. Like I said, Big Mom, who is almost completely shown up. Kaido, who is a given. Blackbeard, most likely. Jinbei, the Kid Alliance. There's so much fucking shit in this arc. It's unbelievable. So, I want to know your thoughts on these individual topics, what you believe will happen, your predictions for this year. I believe the Dressrosa arc will end before the end of 2014. We are 32 chapters in, and I believe there's 52, 53 weeks in a year, something close to that. And given that we have breaks and hiatuses and et cetera, holidays, we usually end up getting about 45 chapters a year, roughly. So, we've been in Dressrosa for most of the year. And I can see Dressrosa being approximately halfway over. Or so, give or take. It almost seems like ever since Big Mom showed up, we got the backstory with the Riku army and Sabo reveal. That was like the turning point. That was like the shift. Like you'll notice various sagas always have like a certain shift where it's like, holy fuck. An example in the Water 7 saga would be Eni's Lobby. An example in I can't really think of any examples off the top of my head, but you understand. Or an example in the Alabasta saga would of course be the Alabasta arc. So I can see this being the shift, the turning point, the halfway mark of the Dressrosa arc. So yeah, I'm seeing this arc taking another 6 months or so in the manga, possibly a year. I'm hoping not quite a year. I'm going to assume we're about halfway through. So let me know exactly what you believe is going to happen throughout this year, throughout the end of the year. Do you see this year being better than last year's? Let me know in your comments down below. Subscribe if you enjoyed. I am LogiaMaster666. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, sayonara.